Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor of Madison365, with your daily update for today, Wednesday, April 28th. We will start with, first of all, a mention of our sponsor who's helping to bring the show to you today, and that is the Just Research Program at the University of Wisconsin here in Madison. They're looking for adult Black men and women over the age of 40 to take a very short 10-minute online survey to ask what kind of clinical trial, what kind of health study would you participate in? They're doing this because a lot of clinical trials, most clinical trials of new medicines, new therapies, focus the participants are all white, so it's hard to determine how effective and safe medications are for Black people if they're only tested on white people. And this is true even when the diseases they're trying to treat are predominantly affect Black people. So they're trying to figure out how to get more Black people to participate in these clinical trials. So if you are willing to take that survey, call that number on your screen, 608-709-9470, or shoot them an email, justresearch@ictr.wisc.edu. This is not a clinical trial. They're not going to experiment on you. And they're not going to try medicines on you. It's just a survey. That's all. Okay, thank you for that. Now, let's talk COVID numbers for a minute because they're kind of a mixed bag again today. In terms of new cases, we continue to, this whole week has so far is basically mirroring last week, which is fine, which is good, right? We got today again 688 new cases today. That's the third day in a row where we basically matched 1 week ago. So we're seeing this sort of weekly pattern. We have a relatively low number in the 300s on Monday coming out of a weekend where they're not reporting as many tests. And then you have 800 something on Monday, 600 something on 800 something on Tuesday, 600 something on Wednesday. So to see that those patterns, to see these numbers have a kind of predictable pattern is actually, to me, pretty good, right? It means we're not getting worse, even though we could. We are at 3.2% positive test rate, which is fine. It's just fine. It's not the greatest. I'd like to see that below 3.0. But, not too long ago, it had drifted all the way up to 3.8. Right? So to have it right now, it's basically hovering for the past 6 or 7 days. It's been like 3.1, 3.2, just kind of hovering just above 3.0, which I'd rather be slightly lower, but at least it's not going up. And 3.2% is not really critically terrible. Okay. Now, the other anomaly today is we've been reporting more fatalities, and we're reporting 34 today. Now, we were looking at the data yesterday. Steph and I were looking last night, and you might remember yesterday I mentioned we reported 17 deaths. And toward the end of last week, we reported 19 on Friday. So these are higher numbers, but at least through yesterday, most of those fatalities that were being reported were many weeks old, were like months old. These aren't deaths that are happening now. These are deaths that are happened in March, February, even into January. And we're just now getting caught up on the death certificate confirmations and stuff like that. 34 feels like a lot to me. So we will we'll look at that data a little bit more closely and see if those are more recent or not. I suspect that they are older again. That these aren't. We're not. My suspicion is that we are not seeing a big surge in fatalities. We're seeing a surge in reporting of fatalities that took place months ago. Okay, so I don't want you to worry too much about that increase in deaths. We are. I mean, the 7-day average of deaths reported now is up to 12. So that looks like a bad number. It feels like a bad number. It probably is not a bad number. just because we're finding cases of people who died months ago, and we're just getting them reported properly, which is what we want to have happen. When all said and done, we want to look back 5 years from now and have accurate data to look back on, right? Let's talk a little bit about vaccines. Vaccinations continue to be slow. We are now at 39,000 per day for the past 7 days. Not nearly enough. That was 63,000 2 weeks ago. We are now at 32.4% fully vaccinated, which I'll be honest is good. That's almost a full percentage point better than yesterday. So we did have a nice healthy number today, about 34,000 today finished their vaccine series. But it's going to take a long time. If we keep going at that rate, it's going to take us, 3 more months. We could be done with this in 2 months. We could have 80% of us vaccinated by July 4th. Right? We have enough supply to get 80% of us vaccinated by July 4th. But we have to keep going at a slightly higher pace than we are now. And the trend has been downward. The trend has been slowing. And I think a lot of it is just a lot of folks have difficulty getting to a vaccine clinic. Right? When you have one big vaccine clinic downtown Milwaukee, not everybody can get to downtown Milwaukee when it's open, right? So there's a lot of that. So a lot of the people for whom it's really easy to get vaccinated are already done. Maybe that 32% is people like me who really have no problem getting to taking a day off of work, and getting to a vaccine clinic. And it's those easy, privileged folks like us who can get it done. And then there's a whole bunch of people who just kind of are complacent, right? I think that's the biggest group of people who are not yet vaccinated. It's not necessarily hesitant folks, but it's either you just have a hard time with transportation or work schedule or whatever it is, like barriers. And then there's a whole bunch of people who could get it, but just kind of don't want to, or just kind of haven't got around to it, or think like, oh, I'll get it. I will. I know I should. I know. I will. I'll get it. So do it. Get it. It's not just for you. It's not just for you. When you get it done, that's one more tiny little fraction of a percentage. It's like civic duty at this point to get it done, to protect us all. Because then this thing won't be over until we get to 80%. And then it's going to be several months after that anyway. We're still going to be talking about this. I'm sick of talking about this. I've been talking about this to you every day for a year, and I'm sick of it. I'd rather talk to you about all the other news. But this isn't going to be done until we get to at least 80% fully vaccinated, which we could get done in a couple months if we got it, but we got to do it. Variants, again, could be a problem. We won't get another variant update until tomorrow. As of last Thursday, just as a reminder, about 9% of all cases that were tested, it was a random sample, were variant of some kind. Of the about 1,000 cases that were sequenced in just last week, 25% were UK variant, that's really bad. That's very high. So that we want to keep an eye on that. And we'll keep an eye on that. We should have that tomorrow. I see Luke has a good question here. Any ideas on local governments or organizations could help make it easier for people to get vaccinated? This work is going on right now, in fact, and I do have some ideas. And I know exactly some of the programs that are happening. I know this because the state is putting $6 million up for local organizations, school districts, local health departments, nonprofits to get people vaccinated who have barriers. And Madison365 is one of those organizations that is taking some of that grant money to do some informational campaigning. Like we're basically information distribution, bringing to kind of help, especially marginalized communities, first of all, trust the vaccine, but also understand its importance and understand how to get it. But some of the other organizations are doing things like doing pop-up vaccine clinics in neighborhoods, right? So, it's one thing if Dane County, for example, there's a vaccine clinic at Alliant Energy Center. And at this point, there are so few appointments being taken that anybody could drive in at any time and get a shot. But if you don't have a car and you live on the north side of Madison, like that's an hour-long bus ride, right? So the best thing to do would be for the county health department or some organization like that to go on a Saturday and just say, it's open now. Just come, just within walking distance of a lot of people, right? And then there's, of course, the information about letting people know that it's there. There's also transportation, where their organizations are basically arranging van pools. So, like, if the health department can't put a clinic on the north side of Madison, at least we could have a van pool driving people back and forth, so that it's much easier to get from the north side to the Alliant Energy Center, for example, right? So I think there's a lot of those things. And my other thing is these vaccine clinics have to be open, not just 9 to 5, right? People have jobs. People have multiple jobs. People have jobs they can't just leave in the middle of the day. So that is that as well. And I think that there are ways, like the Milwaukee Bucks, for example, are doing vaccine clinic at a game. So finding places where people are already gathered, where they've already gone out of their way to be somewhere. And hey, while you're here, how about a shot quick? So there are several strategies. There are lots of very smart people who are smarter about this than I am, who do community health work for a living. And I will also say Milwaukee County, which doesn't have a health department, but Milwaukee County put in place a big push and a big infrastructure and a big group of people to do testing a year ago. And they're basically to get into neighborhoods and get into, just kind of going door to door and making sure people know how to get tested and getting people tested. They're just sort of retooling that to do vaccines instead. Right now, because we are involved in this state grant program, I have some, I don't know, it's not insider information, but I have some insight as to some of these programs, and they're really ramping up. They're looking to ramp up into like the second week of May or so. Like, these things just take a little while to get off the ground, right? So we should start to see some of the racial disparities get chipped away in the next 3 to 4 weeks. And I would hope that it also has an impact on the total number of vaccinations. That said, while the state and the county health departments and all these nonprofits work hard to get those vaccines into those neighborhoods where the barriers are, the rest of you who don't have those barriers, like, take it on yourself to get it done. Don't wait for the government to come to your door, right? If for you, I mean, for me, I'll just use myself. For me, it was inconvenient, right? Like, I got a call at 5:00 on a Thursday, and somebody said, "Can you come and get a shot right now?" And I was like, "Sure," because I have a life and a job that has enough privilege that I could do that. And then I went and got it on a Friday, and I, which is another privilege, that I was able to schedule it on a Friday afternoon, so that Saturday I was down for the count, and by Sunday I was fine. And it was inconvenient. It really was. But that's all it was, right? It didn't impact my job. I didn't lose any money. I didn't lose any work hours that I was getting paid for. I didn't have to pay a babysitter for my kids, For a lot of us, getting to 2 appointments is a pain in the ass, right? It's inconvenient. But if that's all it is for you, you are very privileged. So take the inconvenience for everybody else, not just for yourself, but for your family, for your community, so we can all get this over with. And while we do that, then our public health departments can work on those people with the real barriers, right? Who are less privileged than us, okay? So that's my preaching for today. I see my viewer count has dropped significantly as I preach at you. So sorry. I appreciate that. But we'll be right back. I have some very good news for you. One piece of very good news, one piece of bittersweet news for you as we go forward here. The non-COVID related, just local news that you'll want to know about. So stick with us. We'll be right back after this.
Here in the Midwest, community is important.
Having a healthcare system that's looking out for us,
That's actively addressing the racial disparities in healthcare is important.
When we can get good quality care, we can do more. We can achieve more.
we can be the kind of community we want to be, and that's really important.
UW Health. Remarkable medicine. Remarkable care.
All right. Now, the good news today that we have for you is that last week was the NAACP's Act So competition. That stands for Afro Academic, Cultural, Technological, and Scientific Olympics, also known as the Olympics of the Mind. This is recognized as and awards young people who demonstrate academic and cultural achievement. And 4 teenagers from Madison are headed to nationals. This one you see here is Cabron Walker. He's a junior at Madison Country Day School. He won gold medals in STEM for engineering and in visual arts for drawing. And joining Cabron at nationals will be Demi Stokes, who's a freshman at Wanakee. She won a gold medal in humanities for poetry. Hunter Stevenson is a junior at Madison Country Day School, won gold in humanities for an original essay, and a bronze in STEM for biology. And Lamonte Burrell, a senior at Madison Memorial, won a gold medal in performing arts for contemporary dance. Lots of other folks were also earned medals and honors. So take a look at the story for all those names. It's at Madison365.org right now. Congratulations to all those kids. We are very proud of you, and you're going to do great at nationals. Also today, our good friend Mike Hernandez, who was the principal at Sherman Middle School here in Madison for 8 years. 8 years, principal at Madison East High School for 4 years, and for the past 2 years has been the co-chief of secondary education at the school district at the administrative level. He's leaving Madison. He has accepted a position as an assistant superintendent in the Appleton area school district. If you don't know, Appleton and the Fox Valley region generally are rapidly diversifying. And he said when he I spoke with Mike early this morning, and he said that in interviewing for the position, he got a sense of the real intentional work the Appleton School District is doing in terms of equity. And I got really fired up, is the words he used about that. So he also said he aspires to become a superintendent at some point. Only 2% of the school superintendents in the United States are Latino. So he would be joining a very small club if he got to do that. And I think, knowing Mike, I think he'll get there sooner rather than later. So it's a loss for Madison, but we get to keep him in the state at least. Also today in soccer news, as you know, I love soccer news. This is Audie Jepson. This is kind of a funny story that Audie is from Green Bay. So he's the only truly Wisconsin native that's on the roster right now for Forward Madison. They just announced his signing today. He won all conference honors with UW Green Bay, and then played professionally at St. Louis FC in the USL Championship, which is one level above Forward Madison. And he was injured last year, so he didn't play. He tore his meniscus, and then word got out that he was on trial with Fort Madison, which basically means he got to play a preseason game with him to see how he did and see if he would fit with the team. And once word of that got around, then the St. Louis supporters were lobbying for Madison to sign him on Twitter all day, every day. And it was like, you know how LeVar Burton, everybody wanted LeVar Burton to host Jeopardy, and finally they caved and he hosts Jeopardy. So that was like today, Fort Madison signing Audie Jepson, because the St. Louis fans were just putting so much pressure on Twitter. That's not why they did. They did because he's going to be a really good box-to-box midfielder. and should help the club out in the midfield. Also today, Governor Tony Evers signed a bill requiring genocide education for Wisconsin students. Wisconsin Act 30 will require lessons about the Holocaust and other genocides to be incorporated in social studies education for Wisconsin middle school and high school students. I think most public school curricula include this stuff, but to explicitly require it, is a good idea. There's just enough misunderstanding, enough denial, even that this stuff happened, makes it necessary, to codify it into the state expectations. Like if you're teaching social studies in Wisconsin, you have to include stuff in what you're doing. And in national news, another police shooting the other day. You might have heard about Anthony Alvarez. The body cam footage has been released. I have not seen it yet. It was just released earlier today, and news outlets were kind of reviewing it before they released it. I do see now that it is out publicly, so when we're done here, I'm going to take a look. I would, we always say I don't recommend watching these things. I do it because I have to. It's for my job, so I can tell you about it. Therefore, you don't have to. But there was a traffic incident and a foot chase, and they say Anthony Alvarez had a gun, but that he was shot in the back as he was running away. So it's hard to, and it looks like the stills I've seen from the video are at night, so I don't know how much it's gonna show. But anyway, we have more body cam footage to look at. We expect body camera footage from the sheriff's deputies in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, to be released very soon. That's another case of a black man, in this case, Andrew Brown Jr., who was shot in the back as he drove away. So we should be able to see that video as well in the next couple of days. There was a hearing yesterday in which a judge was asked to release it by the sheriff. The sheriff asked the judge to release it. So we'll see what happens with that, and we'll continue to monitor that situation as well. That is all I have for you today. It looks like another nice day out. I hope you can get out and enjoy it. And we'll have It's Only 10 Minutes podcast first thing tomorrow morning with all the updates for you and with more news. Keep track of us at Madison365.org. Don't forget, tomorrow on this very same Facebook Live channel at 2:30, we have all five black police chiefs and sheriffs in Wisconsin. We're going to have one live town hall. We got 1 hour with them. We'll take your questions. It's the police chief of Madison, the acting police chief of Milwaukee, the sheriffs of Milwaukee County and Dane County, and the police chief of the city of Beloit. We'll ask them questions about the current state of things, about the relationship between the police and the black community, and all, what needs to change. Right. So that's going to be tomorrow at 2:30, and the video will be recorded and will just live on our Facebook page. So you can, if you miss it, you can still see it. So that's all I have for you. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
This is 365 Media.